So over the next 10-15 minutes, I'm hoping to introduce you to the work we're doing with TEDS here at SCI, tell you a little bit about our philosophy behind our creation of the TEDS modules, give you a preview of the modules we've got coming up very soon and planned for next year and beyond. And hopefully in doing that, we'll show you some screenshots of these modules, give you an idea of what you might be able to expect from a typical SCI module. At the end, I'll give you an indication of when these modules become available, where you can go to purchase and download them. So to start off with, it's important to emphasize we are not looking to duplicate any of the existing built-in TEDS modules. So by that, I mean the modules that come installed as standard when you go and subscribe and download the TEDS software. What we are looking to do is to utilize SCI's expertise and experience in steel composite design and create modules that sort of fall into one of these three areas. And that's linking to SCI published guidance, looking to solve current industry issues that we're aware of, and as Graham touched on earlier, looking to prepare for the next generation of Eurocodes coming through. When I say linking to SCI guidance, I'm referring to tying TEDS modules in with maybe the release of a new publication, such as what we're looking to do with this publication we've got on the right-hand side here, the fire resistance light steel framing. That was released earlier this year. And as I'll come on to, our first TEDS module will be a module tying in with this publication. We could also be looking back at some of our older but more commonly used publications to implement some of the design methodologies and calculations presented in those. Another aspect of SCI guidance that we feel that TEDS modules could link into quite nicely would be our advisor desk notes. I'm sure many of you have seen our advisor desk notes in the past. They're shorter 1 or 2 page documents, maybe clarifying a certain aspect of our published guidance or clarifying an aspect of a design code. And a smaller TEDS module would form a nice little tool to sort of perform and illustrate the methods and calculations that these advisory desks are discussing, because quite often when we're releasing an advisory desk note, it will be because the topic is potentially quite complex or open to confusion. And the other thing is the SCI is in quite a unique position. We have many queries from our members of our advisory desk. We are approached for consultancy services from our non-members, and the SCI staff have long established industry-wide contacts both in the UK and abroad, and that all gives us a first-hand knowledge of the issues that designers and others in the industry are currently facing, and that allows us to be quite proactive with the development of these TEDS modules. If we're seeing a theme or some common questions coming through, then we can potentially be addressing that in a calculation tool. Not so much of a focus just at the moment, but becoming increasingly significant over the next couple of years. We'll be looking towards the second generation of Eurocodes. SCI staff and members of various European code committees, so SCI as an organisation has had input into a knowledge of the upcoming changes, and perhaps more crucially, we've got an understanding of the engineering behind these changes. This all allows us to produce a whole variety of information and guidance assisting designers in the transition from the current Eurocodes to the second generation of Eurocodes, and we feel that the TEDS modules can form a significant part of that guidance in assisting the designers with that transition and adopting some of the newer and potentially more complex calculation methods in those updated codes. So what do we actually have in the pipeline? Well, releasing very soon, our very first module is SCI P424, Method for Extending Fire Test Results. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, and that's the one that feeds in to that publication that I discussed a couple of slides back. We'll be following that up with a couple of composite slab design modules. We've got a composite slab openings designer, and then focusing a little bit more on the resistance of composite slabs to concentrated loads. So SCI P424, Method for Extended Fire Test Results, is our very first publicly available module, and it is releasing very soon. The module itself has been completed. We're just putting the final finishing touches onto our web store that will allow us to host and distribute the modules from there. So this module was designed to accompany the publication, and specifically in this publication there are a couple of methods in the appendices. Appendix A for light gauge loaded walls and Appendix B for light gauge loaded floors. And essentially what these methods are aiming to do is to take a set of test results from a physical fire test on a particular build-up and modify those test results or apply those test results to a design scenario where your light gauge loaded water floor might differ in certain key aspects from your fire test. So you're not looking to have to test every single configuration you might have. The method is relatively light in terms of numerical calculation, but you need to be quite careful with the assumptions and limitations on the method and how you use those test results and which design situations you use those test results for. So we've taken a lot of time in crafting an interface for this module that hopefully is clear, easy to understand, and guides you through these methods in the publication from the very start of specifying the different methods through to ensuring you've got all the required data to complete the method successfully, and then also some qualitative limitations as well that are clearly presented to the designers so that everyone is aware of the limitations of the method and therefore of the module. So these are just a couple of screenshots from the module, various windows that you'll be working through. As you progress through that, run your calculations, you'll be then provided at the end with a clear, informative SCI branded output report. This has all the information you need to know about what the module is doing. It gives you a little area to specify some of your project specific data, and then you've got a simple summary down the bottom there. This is just a screenshot from the first page of what would be usually a multi-page output report. We'll be looking to have a standardized form of report for all of our modules, but the exact contents of the subsequent pages would vary depending on the calculation, but typically would be outputting all your input data, some intermediate calculation steps, and then maybe a little bit more data information around the calculation results. All the reports do have this SCI branding, so you can be confident of the reliability of the calculations if you're needing to submit these to third-party checking engineers or authorities. Looking slightly beyond this very first module, we're turning our attention to composite and composite slabs. The next one to follow will be the composite slab openings designer. And this is looking to take a design for a composite slab and allow you to add service openings within the span of that slab. And what the module will be doing is it'll be identifying and designing the required reinforcement that will be needed around these service openings to carry the loads. The module will be able to deal with isolated openings and openings that are potentially close enough to each other they interact. So you need to design it as a single larger, what we call multiple opening. And then beyond that, we'll be looking at the resistance of composite slabs to concentrated loads. And that is really an extension to the method and guidance given in AD 450, which is a relatively recently published advisory desk note that came out about this time last year concerning concentrated loads on composite slabs. So although it's still under development, I wanted to show you a couple of screenshots from our composite slab openings design to give you an idea of the scope and the power really of these modules. So on the left-hand side here, we've got a screenshot from the interface. You'll see a plan view of a composite slab, and you can specify on that 1, 2, or 3 service openings, which are the coloured rectangles you can see on there. When you hit design, the module will then run through and it will locate, size, and then specify the area of reinforcement required in what we call these concrete beam strips that form around the openings. In this particular case, the module has identified that these openings are sufficiently far from each other that they can just be detailed as individual openings, but there might be the situation where you have 2 openings that are close enough together that they interact, and then you've got to design them as a multiple opening. And the module will do this for you. It will even put in these more complicated intermediate beam strips that you can see on the right-hand side here. All you need to do is just specify the location of the opening and the size, and the module will do the rest for you. This will all be fully functional in the first release of the module, and then we'll follow that up with an update at a later date, which will be able to extend this logic to 3 openings, all interacting with each other. And as you'll see from that, the concrete beam strips are even more complicated in that scenario. Again, the module will just do all of that for you. So far, we've talked about a light gauge module and 2 composite modules. In 2022 and beyond, we'll be looking to build on that offering, and as we make more modules available, we'll be looking to combine those into suites. So if your area of engineering is composite, you can just download the composite suite of modules. You don't require the light gauge, but that's all available there for you. We'll be looking to extend the composite range by looking at continuous composite slabs and beams. We'll be looking specifically at some more generic light gauge member design, along with some web crushing resistance for light gauge members. But as well as this, if you think you've got a calculation that might fit well into a TEDS module, if you've got maybe a spreadsheet in your company that you're looking to formalize, or just a calculation you want to share amongst your other engineers, I'll be very interested to hear from you. So if you drop me an email on the TEDS modules at still-sci.com email address, I'll be happy to discuss your needs and see if the SCI can look at creating a TEDS module specifically for you. So hopefully you've seen from those screenshots a little bit about what you can expect from a typical SCI module. They are expertly produced modules by engineers for engineers, and so we've gone to great pains to ensure we've got user-friendly interfaces that can guide you through what could potentially be some quite complex calculations. And at the end of that, you will get a output report which is SCI certified, and a nice SCI certified set of results. The report will be clear and informative, and with that SCI branding, you've got a clear SCI provenance if you need to submit those calculations to third-party check-in engineers and authorities. So as I said, the first module is coming out very, very soon. When that module becomes available, you can go to this web address here, portal.still-sci.com. You'll be familiar with this if you've ever booked onto any of our webinars or training events or purchased publications in the past. At the moment, the little area you can see highlighted in red there where it says shop is currently called bookshop. That will be rebranded just to shop when the TED modules become available. What you need to do is click on that, the shop button there. That will bring you up with a big long list of all the items that are currently available in the SCI store. All you need to do is type TEDS into the search bar at the top, hit search, and that will filter down to all the TEDS modules that are currently available. You'll see here a list from our testing. You can see you just need to select the option that is applicable to your company in terms of number of users. The store will ask you to either log in or register with an account. Once you've done that, you can proceed through the checkout process, and you'll be emailed a unique link to go and download your modules. It's probably worth re-emphasizing at this point that these modules are designed as add-ins. So you will need to have a current active subscription to Tekla TEDS before you go to run any of these modules. So I think that pretty much brings me to a close. If you've got any questions, comments, or even suggestions for modules you might like to see in the future, drop me an email on the TEDS modules at still-sci.com email address. And if you'd be interested in hearing updates as we progress through with the releases of new modules, then you can also drop us an email on that email address. If you've got a particular interest in a certain engineering area, then put that in the email as well, and we'll make sure you get updates that are relevant to you.